Welcome back, everybody. Today I wanted to read a little bit about autumn and the element metal because today is the autumn equinox, and so I like to do a little special thing for our little equinoxes and solstices. So I'm reading from this book. It's called Wood Becomes Water, Chinese Medicine and Everyday Life. And first, in a nutshell, the forces of autumn create dryness in heaven and metal on earth. They create the lung organ and the skin upon the body, and the nose and the white color and the pungent flavor, the emotion grief, and the ability to make a weeping sound. And then it goes on to say, dryness indicates that something has been lost or removed. So emotionally, metal is classically associated with grief, the act of letting go and the process of mourning our losses. Because it hurts us so badly, most people try to avoid grief. They don't want to experience its pain. Others associate grief with weakness and don't want to give in to the debility. It is therefore common practice to ignore grief, denying its very existence in all but the most extreme circumstances. Each new painful situation threatens our bulwark of denial, and we become more rigid about controlling our feelings. We deny ourselves the right to feel even small things for fear of triggering something we won't be able to control. Unfortunately, the continued habit of pushing grief aside does not really abolish it. It only creates a monster inside us that drains our energy and dampens our emotions. For when we anesthetize ourselves against pain, we also lose the ability to feel other things like creativity, love, and joy in full measure. We become numb and disassociated from our experience. Grief has its place like all emotions, however, and it must be honored if we are able to remain in contact with ourselves. In fact, when we do find the courage to admit grief into our daily lives, admit grief into our lives, we find that it creates strength instead of weakness. Grief allows us to confront our losses and move through them, letting go of ideas, behaviors, and relationships that are no longer available. It's a good one. Let's go ahead and practice. Feel free to close your eyes or gaze at a point out in front of you. Take a moment here just to drop in, connect with yourself. If you'd like, you can even notice or acknowledge or observe if you're still in the process of grieving something. It can be a person, a lost job. It can be an article of clothing that you let go of. It can be simple or complex. Just allowing yourself to fully experience that feeling, that experience of grief. As a way of stepping into our practice, we'll sing the sound Om one time. Feel free to sing along or listen. Take a full breath in. Exhale completely. Inhale again. Release your hands. Open your eyes. Please begin on hands and knees for cat and cow. Begin to round your spine, bringing your chin toward your chest, your tailbone through your legs. And on your inhale, reversing the movement, curling into your lower, middle, and upper back. Lift your chin and broaden your sitting bones apart. Continue at your own pace with your breath, paying particular mindfulness to your breath, especially throughout this class. as grief and metal and autumn are all associated with the lung organ. So we can transmute energy through our lungs, through our breath. Feel free to move your hips, shoulders, neck, side to side in circles, crazy eights, or in whatever way feels good. Downward facing dog, lift your knees. Feel free to keep your knees bent or straighten your legs. Reach your heels back toward the floor. Rotate your upper inner arms forward and your inner thighs back as you reach your heels toward the floor. Even draw your rib cage toward your spine. Feel free to be still, or you can add a little movement, bending one knee, straightening the other. Shift forward, plank pose, top of a push-up. Lower halfway down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog, straight arms, hips almost touching the floor, curl back. Press back, downward dog. Take your right leg high toward the ceiling. Reach your right leg longer, then bend your right knee. Stack your hips, kick your right foot toward the wall at your left. Keep your left shoulder as high as your right shoulder. Square your hips. Step your right foot between your hands. Lunging warrior one, right knee directly above your right ankle. Lift torso and arms. Stretch up. Feel free to join your palms. Reach through your fingertips. Pull your shoulders back. Lift your chin. Downward facing dog. Lift your left leg high. Reach your leg longer. Then bend your knee. Stack your hips, kick your foot toward the wall at your right. Right shoulder as high as left shoulder. Square your hips, left foot between your hands. Lunging warrior one. Lift your torso, arms stretch up. Tailbone forward, ribs back, lift your back thigh. Reach through your fingers. Downward dog. Plank. Chaturanga. Upward dog. Downward dog. Come to your outer right foot and your inner left foot. Sideways dog. Keep your hips high. Push your arms and legs longer. Lengthen from your hips to your armpits. Deepen your breath and even maybe feel more sensation on the left side of your rib cage as you breathe in and out. Switch, outer left foot, inner right foot lengthen, sides body long. Lift your armpits. Breathe into the right side of your rib cage. Back to center. Look forward between your hands. Bend your knees. Step or jump to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Feel free to bend your knees or straighten your legs. Push your hands down and forward, feet down and back, shoulders away from your ears and toward the back side of your body. Lean your weight into your heels as you bend your knees. Take your arms parallel to the floor. Round your spine, bring your forehead towards your knees, shoulders away from the floor, arms stay parallel to the floor. Breathe. Inhale, stand up, reach up. Exhale, palms in front of your heart. Interlace your fingers in front of your heart, backs of hands on top of your head, clamp your fingers closed, and then squeeze your shoulder blades toward each other as you pull on your fingers and push your arms towards straight. Rotate upper inner arms back and wide, ribs toward your spine. Lengthen from hips to ribs, ribs to armpits, armpits to wrists. Release your hands. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades toward each other. Do or don't straighten your arms. Bend your knees, thighs toward parallel to the floor. Round your spine like you did before, only this time pushing your knuckles toward the ceiling. Shoulders back, round your spine. Forehead toward knees, thighs toward parallel. Keep your hands bound, push through your heels. Stand up tall, push your hips forward, sternum up, shoulders back, knuckles back, throat back. Keep strength and length through your legs. Breathe into the front of your ribs. Inhale, arms up. Keep your arms up, interlace fingers, extend pointer finger, cross your thumbs, lean your hips to your left, torso to your right in Uttanasana crescent pose. Make sure you're pushing evenly through the inner edges of both of your feet as you lean to one side. Remember to lean your rib cage like you're trying to lift it up and over to the right rather than crunching it to your hip. Slowly come back up, switch the clasp of your fingers so other fingers are in front, other thumb on top, hips to your right, torso to your left, reach up and over with your ribs. Inhale back up. Bring your fingertips in front of your heart, bend your knees, step or jump your feet wide, arms wide. Take your right toes, turn them out to the right. Bend your right knee so your knee is directly above your ankle. Widen your right knee to the right and push through your back leg. Keep your torso facing the long edge of your mat and then lift up all around your rib cage, up away from your hips, creating space all around your lungs. Take full deep breaths, breathing into the lower, middle, and upper, front and back of your lungs. Slow, deep breaths. Sometimes when we're focusing on our breath in a pose that we don't necessarily want to hold for very long, it can take our mind away from the pose a little bit, so it's not so intense. Straighten your right leg, turn your right toes in, turn your left toes out, bend your left knee, wide knee to the left, push through your back leg, lift all around your rib cage up, root through your hips down. Breathe all around throughout your whole lung cavity capacity. Breathe. Straighten your left leg, reach your arms up, interlace your fingers, extend through your fingertips, turn your left toes in sharply, your right toes all the way out, square your hips toward your right leg, bend your right knee above your ankle, pull your rib cage back, tailbone forward, lengthen all the way up, all around your rib cage, up toward your fingertips. Maybe even pull your chin back, look up between your hands, classical gaze. Virabhadrasana 1. Straighten your right leg. Turn right toes in, left toes out. Square your hips to your left. Left hip back, right hip forward. Bend your left knee, ribs back, tailbone forward. Push through your feet, lengthen through your spine. Lift your ribs, look up. Straighten your left leg, turn your left toes forward, and then take your hands down to the floor. Make sure your toes turn in slightly, a little bit more than your heels. Then flare all 10 toes, or however many toes you got, to the sides. Clamp your toe tips into the floor, and then walk your hands back a little further between your feet. Reach your heart first, head last, in between your legs. Push evenly through your inner and outer feet. Push your feet down and like you're going to kick them back toward the wall behind you. And then from there also push your outer feet into each other as you pull your heels toward each other. Next inhale, lengthen your spine. Hands to hips, shoulders back, stand up. Heel toe your feet in so they're about 2 fists width apart from the inner arches. And then bend your knees a little bit to take your hands down to the floor. Then take your hands, flip your palms facing up, thumbs pointing in, step on your palms with your feet, toes all the way up to your wrist creases. Then start to lean your weight into your feet. Push your heels down, rooting them into the ground. Widen your elbows to the sides and then reach your heart first, head last, toward your legs. Keep pushing up into your feet with your hands and pushing down into your hands with your feet. Maybe even wiggle your toes around a little bit to massage your palms. Your toes, especially your big toe mound and your big toe as a whole, are pushing into this part of your thumb associated with the lungs and breathing. Step off of your hands, lengthen your spine, and then push your palms flat into the floor, bend your knees, and then hop your feet wide. Turn your toes in slightly again and fold between your legs like you did before. Shoulders back, top of head pushing down. Push your outer feet down, inner arches up, heels toward each other. Next inhale, lengthen your spine, hands to hips, shoulders back, stand up. Take arms wide to the side, turn right toes out, triangle pose. Lean your hips to your left, torso to your right. Push especially through the ball of your front foot as you take your right hand to your shin, ankle, or the floor. Just like I mentioned in crescent pose, lift your rib cage away from your hip, reach it towards your right foot instead of crunching it toward your leg. Twist open, lift your sternum, lift your chin, maybe lift your gaze, look toward your left fingers without bringing your chin to your left shoulder. Look down at the floor. Bend your right knee. You can either take forearm to thigh or right hand outside foot for extended side angle. Push through your back leg, reach through your left arm, twist open. Same story here, lift your rib cage toward your right knee as you twist open. Reach through your fingertips. Maybe turn your gaze up toward your left palm. And that'll even help keep your chin away from your shoulder as you turn your head. Slowly stand up. Turn your right toes in, left toes out. Triangle pose to the left, hips to your right, rib cage, reach them toward your left foot, left hand to your shin, ankle or floor or a block. Tone and turn your abdomen, twist open. Push through your feet, reach through your arms. Maybe turn your gaze toward your right hand, keeping your neck long. Keep your breath slow, deep, and even. Breathing your full ability as much into your lungs as possible. Bend your left knee, left hand outside your left foot, right arm behind your ear. Twist open. Push through your back foot, reach through your right arm. When we allow ourselves to breathe fully and deeply, it allows things to relax and let go in our body and in our mind. Allows space for release to occur because we're not so tense when we're breathing. Slowly stand up. Turn your left toes in, fingertips in front of your heart, bend your knees, step or jump your feet together, arms by your side. Tree pose. Take your right foot anywhere along the inner edge of your left leg, as long as it's not on your knee. Push your foot into your leg, leg into your foot, widen your right knee to the right. Place your palms in front of your heart. Extend up through your heart, shoulders back, lift your chin slightly. You can stay here, reach your arms straight up toward the ceiling, reach tall. Just like I mentioned before, lift all around your rib cage up as you reach all around your hip line down toward the floor into your feet. Lower your hands, lower your foot. Second side, take your left foot to your right leg. Push foot and leg into each other, palms together. Lift through your heart. Maybe reach your arms up. Lift all around your ribs up. Root all around your hips down. Lower your hands, lower your foot. Come into a downward facing dog. Take your right knee behind your right wrist, pigeon prep. Point your right toes toward your left hip, left knee behind your right heel, slide it back. Then squeeze your knees down and toward each other. Start by folding forward slowly. Maybe drop your head forward and rest here, but stay active in your legs by gently squeezing your knees toward each other. Feel free to stay here or lift your torso. Place your right hand in front of your right shin. Bend your left knee for a quad stretch. Take your left hand to your left foot. Pull your heel toward your left hip. Turn your fingers forward and then turn your torso forward. Lift up through the front of your ribs. Pull your shoulders back. Lift your chin. Maybe stay in this position. Or you can go for mermaid, taking your left elbow around your left foot. Point your left fingers up. You can stay here or push your foot into your arm so your right hand gets light. Lift your arm up. Bend your elbow, grab your fingers by your left ear, and turn forward. This helps to open up your pec, which helps to allow more breath to enter by stretching these muscles here in the chest. Release your hands, lower your foot, downward dog. Left knee forward, pigeon. Right knee back. And fold forward whenever you're ready. Squeeze your legs toward each other. Let your head fall forward. Quad stretch. Lift your torso. Left hand in front of your shin. Bend your right knee. Reach back, grab your foot. Pull heel toward your outer right hip. Square hips and torso forward. Shoulders back. Stay here. Or mermaid. Slide elbow around the top of your foot. Point your right fingers up. Push foot into arm. Left arm up. Reach your left arm back. Grab your fingers. Turn forward. Lift through your sternum. Deepen your breath. Downward dog. Step your feet forward to about the middle of your mat. Take your feet as wide as your mat. Bend your knees. And then take your hands behind your heels so your thumb and index finger wrap around your ankle. Then bend your knees and elbows and pull yourself through so your shoulders come behind your knees. Move your shoulders back into your knees. And then lengthen your spine to an upper back bend. Place your hands on the floor, palms flat behind you, fingers pointing toward your heels. Lean back onto your hands and then sit on your elbows, but almost lift off of your elbows at the same time so you're not just collapsing your weight into your arms. And then walk your feet a little more toward each other. Clamp your heels toward your hips. Lengthen your spine, look forward, shoulders back. You can stay here or push your hands down and then slightly forward to lift your feet off the floor. Maybe cross an ankle, then the other ankle, Ujjayi. Let go, stand up, full forward Uttanasana. Lengthen your spine, lower your knees to the floor, and then cross your ankles, flip over onto your bottom. Take your legs out straight. Take your fingers, point them toward your hips, lift and lower your hips, and then lower your forearms to the floor. Take your elbows under your shoulders so you feel supported. And then push your wrists, arms down, shoulders back, hips down, chest up, and curl back, couch pose. Keep the back of your neck long. Lift through your heart. Lower your sternum, lift your head, push your hands down to lift your torso up, and then have a seat on your mat, and then take your right ankle on top of your left knee, and your right knee on top of your left ankle. Fire logs, you can do that one, or if that's too much, you can also take right leg in front of left leg, knees on ankles. Whichever one you're doing, push down through your outer feet so your outer ankles lift up. Feel free to slide your inner thighs out so you feel like you have more space between your legs. Then push your big toe edges of your feet out to the sides. Feel free to stay upright or fold heart first. Head last, lengthening your spine forward as you do. Feel free to keep your hands on your feet or take your arms straight out in front of you and drop your head. Breathe into your back body, into the backs of your ribs. Next inhale, lengthen your spine. Slowly sit up. Switch the cross of your legs so your left shin is on top or left shin is in front. Widen your inner thighs to the sides. Push through your outer feet, lift your outer ankles. Push through your big toe mounds out to the side. Palms into feet to start. Pull your heart forward and fold. Feel free to walk your arms forward. Let your head drop. Slowly sit up. Take your legs straight out on your mat, but come up to where you're closer to the top of your mat, so your feet come off of your mat. And then bend your left knee. Place your left foot flat on the floor. Take your left arm up and reach through inside your left leg to grab your inner right foot. From here, take your right arm under your left arm and grab your outer left shin and pull your armpit around the front of your shin as far as it'll go. You can stay working here or plug your shoulder into the socket, take your left arm to the left, point your thumb down, palm back, and then bend your elbow. Slide your fingers up towards your outer left hip. You can stay there, shoulder back, or take your right arm back, point your palm back, bend your elbow, grab your fingers by your left hip. Stay here or round your spine, forehead toward your knee. Deep breaths, even though it might feel constricted here. Let go of your fingers. Lengthen your spine. We're going to swing our right leg around. You might need to bend it depending on if you have obstacles in your way. Coming into Anjaneyasana. So your right knee is back, left foot is forward. Lift your torso, lift your arms. Tailbone forward, ribs back. Sit into your left hip. Lengthen all the way up through your spine, through the top of your head. Maybe join your palms. Feel free to curl back with length. Lower your hands, and then you're going to swing your right leg forward, left leg forward. Take your right foot flat on the floor. Reach through your right leg. Grab your left foot, inner edge with your right hand. Use your left arm under your right arm. Pull yourself through so your armpit is around the front of your right shin. And then maybe wrap your right arm around your right leg. Point your palm up, reach for your hip, and then take your left arm back, palm up, bend your elbow, reach for your fingers. Squeeze your shoulder back, knee in, round your spine. Breathe. Release your fingers, lift your torso. You're going to swing your left leg back behind you, left knee to the floor, lift torso, hips forward, arms up, tailbone forward, lengthen up, maybe go back. Lower your hands, swing your left leg forward, lower down, and then slide all the way back onto your mat so everything's on your mat. Take your left knee to the left, and then rotate your inner thighs down, outer hips up, both legs. Turn to face your right leg and fold Janu Shirshasana, forehead to knee, heart forward, head last. Feel free to grab your foot with one or both of your hands. Next inhale, lengthen. Sit up, keep your legs like they are. Turn to your left. Right hand to your left knee, left hand behind you. Lift your left arm up. Reach up and over. Remember what I said about rib cage. You're shifting your ribs toward your right foot instead of crunching toward your leg. So keep all of that length. Feel free to take hand or forearm to the floor on your right side. Stay here, or some of you might be able to come all the way down to your right thigh. If you can come down that far, lean a little forward inside your leg, then lean back against your inner thigh so you shift to rotate onto your outer right hip-ish, right sitting bone. And then from here, you can grab your foot with your left hand outer edge. Maybe take right hand to inner edge of your foot, twist open, lift through your chest. Keep the length on both sides of your torso. Maybe take the back of your head to the top of your knee. Slowly sit up. Take your left leg forward, right knee to the right. Make sure your sitting bones are even underneath you. Turn to face your left leg and fold over your left leg. Grab your foot, shin or ankle. Turn your torso straight down as you fold forward, heart first, head last. Feel free to join your left hand in grabbing your foot. And breathe here. Inhale, lengthen. Sit up. Keep your legs as they are. Twist to the right. Left hand to your right knee, right hand behind you. Reach your right arm up. Lengthen, lift your left ribs toward your left foot as you lean to the left. Feel free to use your left hand or forearm on the floor, or come all the way down to side to thigh. Lean a little inside your leg, then lean back into your left leg. Right hand to outer foot, left hand to inner foot. Twist open. Lift your chin away from your chest. Slowly sit back up. Take your right leg forward. Bring your feet to the floor about outer hip distance apart. And now we're gonna lean forward, lean back, lean forward, lean back. So you're gonna try to stand up, but keep your knees bent. Once your hips are off the floor, separate your feet all the way to mat distance apart. And then take your arms back behind you, behind your legs again. From here, you can stay or take your hands back behind you just like you did before, fingers pointing forward toward your feet. And then lean your weight slowly back to your hands. Do the same thing as last time. Squeeze your legs in, almost lift your hips off your arms, and then start to walk your feet forward. Look forward, do an upper back bend, lengthen your spine. Then walk your feet forward. Squeeze your legs in so much that you can lift them off the floor. Titivasana. Bend your knees. You can either plop down on your butt or stand up. All right. Great. Go ahead and take yourself down onto your back. And then place your feet on the floor so they're hip distance. Point your toes straight ahead. Walk your shoulders one at a time toward your spine. Push your head, shoulders, and feet down. Lift your hips up for bridge. Feel free to grab your outer mat or interlace fingers. Walk your shoulders in again. Keep your chin lifting away from your sternum. Sternum lifting toward your chin. Weight through your inner feet. Lift through your outer hips. Release your hands, lower your hips, rest your knees together, feet apart, hands wherever comfortable on your torso or by your side. Take your arms out like cactus arms. And then separate your knees, do windshield wipers, let your knees go side to side, back and forth. Then come over onto your left side. Take your left arm straight out beyond your mat, getting everything in one sideways line. Then place your head into your left hand. Stack your legs. From here, you can either use your hand out in front of you as support. Do push your left elbow down and toward your left hip, and your left outer foot down and toward your left hip as well. Maybe take your right arm and drape it over your right side. See if you can balance. If you are having trouble balancing, that probably means you are in a perfectly straight line, which is a good thing. It's just hard to balance on the hip, which is not a flat surface. Lower onto your back, and then roll onto your right side. Take your right arm straight out in front, legs straight back, head in your right hand. Push down through your elbow, down through your feet. From here you can stay or drape left arm along left side. Lower down, come back to your back. All right, pull your knees outside your rib cage, so we're coming into like a happy baby, basically happy baby. And then push your feet and hands into each other. Now from here you can stay. This can be a good spot to stop. Or lift your head up, take your elbows behind your knees, and then hook your index finger and thumbs around the backs of your ankles. And then take your knees high up toward your outer armpits, as high as they'll go. All right, so this is a similar shape that we were in before. You can stay here, or take your arms so they're diagonally going toward the opposite end of your mat, palms pointing up. Push your shoulders back into your legs and your legs into your shoulders. You can stay here or straighten your legs. This is basically Kurmasana on its back. Upside down tortoise pose. Bend your knees. Take your arms out from behind, or your knees out from behind your shoulders. Rest, knees together, feet wide. Take a few breaths. Roll onto your belly. Sphinx pose. Take your elbows slightly in front of your shoulders. Push your palms flat. You can lift and lower your hips to make sure everything feels even. Then push the tops of your feet down or curl your toes under to lift your knees. That can be more intense. And then lift and lengthen your torso up out of your hips, lengthening your spine up through your sternum, shoulders back. Keep your chin slightly lifted. Slowly lower down onto your belly. Take your hands as if you're going to go into cobra pose. So your left hand stays next to your rib cage, and then take your right hand to the right palm flat, arm straight. Pull your shoulder back, and then roll onto your outer right hip. Scoot your hips slightly forward, lift your left leg up, and then bend your left knee and step your foot to the floor behind you. Feel free to drop your right ear to the floor and breathe here. Slowly roll back to your belly. Switch your arms. So your left arm goes to the left, palm flat, and then pull your shoulder back as you roll to your left side. Scoot your hips slightly forward. Lift right leg, bend your knee, step your foot back behind you. And breathe here. Slowly roll out. Push up to all fours, hands and knees. Keep your knees hip distance underneath your hips the whole time, straight up and down. Then take your forearms to the floor, slightly in front of your elbows, slightly in front of your shoulders. Then make a V shape with your hands so your hands go a little wider than your elbows. And then just push your arms forward so that your head comes to the floor, kind of like a down dog. And from here, just let everything, your arms, your forehead, your sternum, just rest toward the floor, letting gravity take you down. And breathe. Come back up. All fours. Knees a little wider than your hips, big toes together. Take your left arm under your right arm. Shoulder and ear to the floor, revolve child's pose. Walk your right hand forward into the left. Push through your right arm. Pull with your left arm. Tack your right hip back so your hips are square. Walk your right hand back. Untwist. Switch sides. Right arm under your left arm. Shoulder and ear down. Tack your left hip back. Feel free to walk your left hand forward. Pull with your right arm. Push with your left arm. Walk your left hand back. Untwist. Child's pose. Knees wide. Toes together. Forehead and nose on the floor. You can either do arms out in front or take your arms by your sides, shoulders resting on knees. And just let gravity pull you down. Place your hands by your shoulders, lift your shoulders up, lift your head up, and sit up. Come down into Shavasana and rest. Try to focus on the space in between your thoughts. Allow yourself to fully, completely let go. Take a full breath in. Exhale completely. Bring gentle movements back into your body. Gently and mindfully bend your knees, roll to your side, and then slowly press yourself back to seated. We'll end with one Om. Take a full breath in. Exhale. Inhale. Feel free to place your hands over your heart. Bowing your head into your heart, take a moment to honor yourself, each other, this practice, and anyone or anything else. When you're ready, gently lift your head, open your eyes.